Hey guys, welcome to the top percentile. My name is Anay Dave. I scored a percentile of 99.99 in CD 2020. I also scored a 99.86 percentile in CAT, which is where this video is going to be focused on more. This is part 2 of the video series that we're making on CAT. The first part was about my story in CAT. The second video, which is this, is about how I prepared for each and every section. The third video would be about the mock analysis, how you should be using the Excel sheet, and I'll be sharing my Excel sheet with you. The fourth video will be answering all the questions that you put in the comment section or reached out to me with. So we'll be making these videos, and if you have anything else, please drop your question in the comments. We'll be recording more, whatever you require for this. It's around, I think, around 20 days left for CAT. Today is the 8th of October, 8th of November, so there are 20 days left, and I do believe that it is still enough time to bring the change in your prep that I had got in my prep. So as I explained in the earlier video, around the 5th of October, around the 5th of November, my entire score changed. I went from a score of 80 to a score of 130, and this was a weekly, like within a week I changed the score. And I want to explain how I did this, what I did within that week that changed this entire thing, and how you guys can do it as fast as possible. Because I still think that if you're watching this even a week before the final exam, it's very important that you do it, and you still can implement this and get higher marks than what you're scoring right now. So this was something that I did across all the 3 sections. I'll be taking it section by section, explaining what my strategy was for each section. Now, what stage was I at this prep? Just to answer a very basic question that might be going on in your mind. Maybe you feel that you aren't prepared as much. I do think that I had a very good prep in the basics of subjects. So as that's scored a 19.99, I know that I had a good level of understanding on things. But what is required for CAT is very different from what is needed in CET. The depth of topics, the breadth of topics, everything is a lot different. The DILR section is completely different. VARC is completely different. All of it is very different from what you have in CET. But obviously, the base of math is always going to be the same. So even the base of logic, I mean, it's just the way you think. But still, when it comes to that, even if you're someone who's not completed the portion, I would suggest watch this video. There are a lot of tips that you'll find. You'll find a lot of things here that will help you out. Go ahead. So I had finished the portion, obviously, and I'd taken around 10 mocks by this time. I'd taken only 10 mocks. I took a total of 23 mocks, and I prepared for 2 months before CAT. I took 23 total mocks, and I took 10 mocks before this period, in this period that I'm referring to, and my average score was around 80, 82. My average score after this period was a 120, and my highest was around 141. I will share my Excel sheet. Maybe a 130. I'm not sure of the exact score. You can go through my Excel sheet to find out what my highest exactly is. Maybe a 130, 140, whatever. But the point is, it shifted a lot towards the upper side, and this was a shift that happened in each and every section. I'll be explaining my mock scores in each and every section in the mock video. So in my, I think every section had a 10 to 12 mark increase. I think the DLR section had a 20 mark increase. So overall, I increased by 40 marks. That's how it happened. But on average, I'm saying. But this was how I did this was essentially the first thing that you need to do when you watch this video. The first thing that you need to do is make a plan. Make a plan for what you're going to do in the next 20 days, and try to. The first step of this plan, the first few days, is going back to your old mocks. If you've taken 5 mocks, if you've taken 10 mocks, if you've taken 20 mocks, how many ever mocks you've taken, go back to it. Go back to it and analyze what you've done in them, why they went wrong, and could you have used a better strategy. This entire thing is about the strategy you use. CAT is only about the strategy that you use and how you think about the paper. For example, if you want to understand why you selected a particular set and not another one, go back to your mock, put yourself in that position and think about why it went wrong, how you could have done it better, and what exactly was needed to do it better, right? A couple of things that you need to keep in mind, just listing them out in the start. But the first thing you have to do is go back to the mocks and just see them again. Now, when it comes to each and every section, let's just start off from section by section what my prep was. So for VARC, there are much tougher RCs, much tougher para-jumbles, and yeah, mainly just these 2 that come in the paper. So it is just a lot tougher than what usually comes in CET. You need a lot more depth in understanding the RC. You need to understand each and every nuance a lot more. You need to understand what the author is trying to say. So when it comes to, now there are again 2 parts. So let's start with the RCs first. I'll take the para-jumbles later. Again, when it comes to RCs, there are again a couple of parts. One is selecting the RC, and then the second is going through the RC, how you go through it. Actually, there's a third part also, which is how to attempt the question. So 3 parts. So first we look at verbal, RCs and parajumbles. Under RCs, there is how to select, how to read, and how to mark our answers. So going down the first part, how do you select RCs? There's a wide variety of material that comes in RCs in the CAT exam. You cannot read each and every topic. Usually what happens is that if you know sports, you like a sports topics. If you know history, you like something, something historic, you like reading about history, you like reading about the subject you like. But you cannot do that in an exam which is as wide as CAT. It is so dispersed, and it is so diverse that you cannot ever complete the entire syllabus. There is no syllabus in it. So when it comes to this, just understand that it's the English language and it's a story they're trying to convey. They are trying to convey the feelings of the author. They're trying to convey what they are. Just try to understand what the main idea is. It doesn't matter if you don't understand the depth of it. Just get the main idea of it. Like, what is the author? If I had to summarize this entire thing in one sentence, how would I say it? So there's a long passage. So what you first need to do is read as much as possible. There are only 20 days left. I think this is one thing that everyone keeps talking about. Please read Aeon articles, aun.com. They are wonderful articles. You don't need to read the entire article. Just take 500, 600 words, read for 10 minutes. That's all you need to do in a day. But if you're not doing it, please start right now. 20 days, you can still improve a lot. Just start reading as much as is possible. In fact, even before the last day, I had read an RC before I went there. I had read a full article before I went for the paper. So when you get practice of reading, your eyes start moving faster. You start getting contextual clues that you wouldn't otherwise if you aren't in practice. So make sure that you practice as much as possible. That is one suggestion that I have when it comes to RCs. Now, as I said, you see the topic and you kind of realize whether you like it or not. So when it comes to RCs, the main point over here is familiarity. You're trying to see how familiar you are with the RC, with the topic of the RC. You're trying to think, do I know about this topic? If it's something about, let's say, scuba diving, and you like scuba diving, you like it. But if I've never done scuba diving, or I'm scared of water, I'll never even know about it. I'll never read about it. The trick over here is to tell yourself that yes, you do like it. You do want to know what they have to say. Kind of, put yourself in the mindset that yes, tell me what this is. I want to know what you're trying to teach today. That's the idea. So when you see an RC, first just get a sense of what the topic is and how tough it is. If it's a very philosophical topic, it is very likely that the questions will also be tougher and that they will be a higher level compared to what it would be if it was a story that they're telling you. Now, one side note that I want to mention here is that the RC and the questions it's not that if there's a tough RC, there are few tough questions. There can be a very easy RC with very tough questions and a very tough RC with very easy questions. So there is no correlation between the two. That's why when you are seeing the questions, when you're seeing the RC, you're also looking at the questions that it has, right? So the first step, coming back to the 3 parts that I mentioned, the first step, selecting the RC, you're looking at familiarity. You're seeing how familiar you are with it. Then you're looking at the type of words used. Is the vocab used or the sentence structure very difficult? Are they simple sentences or are they very weird, twisty, full of adjective sentences? How Shashi Tharoor talks, there are too many adjectives that you don't understand, then it's something that you will take a longer time to grasp. So if it's something that is very straight, then that score is higher on your list. You just have to keep this kind of rank. You can even rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 or 1 to 3, sum it up, and then just see what your total is, just to keep a track of how things are. And the third would be how fast you can read that particular topic or that particular lecture, like for example, that particular vocabulary, that particular style of writing. If some child has written a passage, I can read it much faster than if, let's say, Yuval Harari Noah has written or Nassim Taleb has written a passage. I take a much longer time to read that because I need to actually understand what they're saying, and I don't think as fast as they write. So I cannot comprehend it at that speed. So these are the 3 main things that you need to do, and just keep a track. It doesn't have to be a proper rating scale. Just rate this, and when you're practicing, that time you need to do this. Just keep a track of a lot of things that you do. Just keep a track of how easy it is, how familiar you are, and how fast you can read it. If you can do these 3 things, I think you're pretty much sorted for selecting RCs. You'll be able to very nicely select which RC you need to take, which RC you do not need to take. I believe Tony Xavier of IMS has made a very similar video to this, and I owe all credit to him. I learned this from him. So if there's anything similar, it's because of that. Because I am learning from the teachers at IMS, as I mentioned in the earlier video. He has a blog known as thecatwriter.com. And if you visit it, you will find a lot of tips on strategy. Again, there'll be a lot of derivations that I have taken from there because I implemented what he has said, like what Scribbler, Prasad sir, and Shashank sir have said. So please make sure you read a lot of those blogs, go through the blogs. It is not too late to start. No one's making any money on the blogs and just telling you to read it because it actually helps you guys. So please go ahead and read the things. When it comes to the next part of it, which is how to read an RC, just summarize each and every paragraph into a sentence. After you read a paragraph, try to get the gist of it. Just try to understand what is the author trying to say. If I had to summarize this to one sentence, what would it be? Likewise, after the entire 5-6 paragraphs are done, summarize the entire main idea into one. There'll be one question, Cat, which says, what is the main idea of the passage? That one should be a very easy answer if you are able to complete this exercise. Now, the third aspect of it, which was how to answer questions. In this, I would like to suggest elimination of options first rather than answering the question first. So when you see 5 options, eliminate 4 of them. That's your way to get to the answer. Do not select the one, eliminate 4, and the 1 is your answer. So I think there's a famous quote on this also about how some sculpture had made, I think a sculpture of David. And he said that from a rock, how did he make the sculpture of David? And all he said was, I eliminated what was not David. Or I could be wrong with the name, or Matthew, it's just some name. But the idea is that you eliminate the options and you come to the answer using that. So best thing to do over here is that eliminate at least 2 to 3 options. You have a much better chance of getting the answer, and find out the nuances between the 2 sentences. If there are 2 options that you're left with, try to understand firstly which part of the passage they come from. Go back to that passage, read it, understand it, and then come back to it. And at the same time, just try to keep a track of what the differences between the 2. So you can just compare word to word what is different. If one option has a much stronger word compared to the other, think about what is meant in the passage. There is not a one size fit all. It's not that the extreme answers are not always right. There's no rule like that. But if there is something that is not going to, if there is something that in the passage is a completely different idea, maybe the passage is a very extreme passage, and then the options will also be very, very extreme. So if there is something that it has to be in line with the passage, but you need to know what the difference between the options are. So when it comes to VARCs, these are the 3 buckets. Familiarity, speed, and ease of reading. Speed and ease of sentences. That's the first thing about how to select RCs. Rank them and select the best. You can spend the first 5 minutes ranking RCs and then selecting which one to do. It's okay. 5 minutes is not a big deal in GAT. It's always going to be more time, less pressure. So just keep that in mind. Then read each and every paragraph, summarize it, read the entire passage, summarize it, come into the answers, eliminate options, then solve it, right? That's how you do RCs. When it comes to para-jumbles, you have 2 types. One is the where they give you the D, F, A, B, C, B, E, C, D, A, whatever. They'll give you the options. And the other is a theta question. There are 2 types usually. The theta questions are tougher, but there is no negative marking there. So you can just mark something and come, whatever guess you have. When it comes to this, it is very difficult to get marks here. I used to always go wrong in this. But when it comes to this part of it, you need to understand pronouns. You need to understand how the sentence is made. What is the author trying to convey again? If I'm writing a story, I would start with the introduction, then go to the body, then come to the conclusion. That's how you'd write a passage, right? You try to make a logically sounding passage, which goes in a story, which goes, from one part to the other. So when you're reading the sentences as well, try to think about what aspects they're talking about. If they're talking about a boy and they're talking about a girl, but above this, they will only introduce the boy, then you have to wonder, where is the girl introduced? Maybe there's another sentence which links the boy and girl together before that, but introduces the girl as well. So things like that. You need to first just make that entire thing ready and then go for it. I don't have too many tips to give here because it's more practice than anything, and still accuracy will be low. But you need to keep in mind that you need to make and do this as much as possible. But this link has to be there. There has to be something that links a sentence to the other. Like, for example, if I say a sentence right now, it's linked to the previous sentence, right? If you watch any of the sentences, there is a link to the previous sentence, or there is a context that I'm talking in. Find out what the context is, you'll be able to figure out what the meaning or what the order should be, at least to eliminate a few options or to at least form a few pairings that are required. Again, eliminate options rather than selecting one or placing the options back in the answers. So remember that one thing. So this was the VARC section. I don't think I have much to add here. What I would say is that keep reading articles, keep reading as much as possible. It does help a lot. Read articles, go back to it, read articles, and you don't have to read like 1,000, 2,000 words, just 500, 300 is fine. Find out how long CAT RC passages are in the final exam. In the past exams, how long they've been. Not read more than that, it's not needed. Vocabulary also not too much is needed, but just if you come across a word that you don't know, read it and remember it, it'll help you. But the main thing I think I've explained in the video so far, so that's all I have to say for the VRC section. This is something that I did, like this part where I understood about how to select better. That's what helped me increase the marks for me in one sentence. That's what helped me. When it comes to DLR, again, it was selection of questions that helped me a lot here. What happened to me in the DLR section was that initially when I was solving questions, I would select the wrong set. I would not understand which one to select. And at the end of the paper, I would solve all the questions thinking, this is so easy. Why didn't I get this in the paper? You know, it used to be very frustrating after the paper. And a lot of you would be in this place, so we can solve it afterwards, but not before. And Vinayak sir from IMS told me this one thing. He's the national head at IMS. And he had mentioned this one thing, that if you're able to solve a question outside the paper, you should be able to solve it within the paper. There is no reason why you should not be able to solve it while taking it. Whether it's in the paper or outside the paper, there should be no difference in the way you solve it. So that mindset that you have to be ready to solve a question whenever you see it, rather than just when you're taking the mock, I think that helping a lot. So when you're practicing as well, make sure that you're picking the right sets first and then going ahead with things. So how do you pick sets? Again, you're looking at familiarity. You're looking at whether you've solved a type of set like that before. So for example, if you've seen the question of cubes where they look at the edges, centers, 3 sides, 2 sides, etc. If you know how to do it once, you can do it again. That's not going to be different. But if there's a new type that comes, a completely new type, like in my set, there's a question about vacant parking spaces. And it needed a different kind of visualization. Although it was only linear, it needed a lot of permutation, combinations, and things to do. So it was only linear, I think. But yeah, that did need a couple of PNCs required in that. But if you know how to visualize it, you will be able to solve it. So when it comes to familiarity, you're looking at can you visualize the solution, how it's going to look, how things are going to be. Now, one side note over here, just like in the VRC section, the DLR set and the questions need not be of the same difficulty. You can have a very easy first DLR introduction, and you can have 5 different questions in each where they give you new data. The first question might give you data for the first question itself. The second question will be a completely different question requiring you to solve the entire thing again. So please remember, when you're taking a set, go through all the 5 questions and see that you know, and just make sure that you know that that you're able to, that all of them are worth solving in that particular moment. Make sure that all of it is something that you can do and you can solve within the time limit possible. It should not be that you spend 6 minutes on a set and then realize that only one question can be solved with it. It has happened to me. So please remember that, just go through all the 5 questions and see whether 5, 6, how many questions are there in a set. Go through all the questions in the set and make sure you know that all of them can be solved if you solve the set right. So first thing, familiarity. Second thing, check whether the questions can be solved or not. And third thing, you need to see how direct or how obvious the statements are. So for example, I'll take a very easy example. In a circular seating arrangement, if you're directly telling me that A sits opposite B and B sits to the right of C or something like that. So, I get the entire 4, if it's 4 people, I know where A, B, C, D sit. It's a direct thing. But if you give me very vague statements where I need to keep making cases like A sits right to B, or either second to the left of B or third to the left of C, there's something like that where it's completely ambiguous and I'm making 4 or 5 cases. I'm constantly making cases. If it leads to a case, it means it's ambiguous. If the sentence leads to a case, if it splits up your entire solution, that means it's leading to a case. And each and every split is each and every solution. So if there are 6 splits, it's a 2 raised to 8. Like if there are 6 splits, it'll be 2 into 2 into 2 into 2, 2 raised to 6 splits that are there, because every split will have 2 options. So you'll keep going down to 2, 2, 2, 2. So it's too many options to make. So you have to keep in mind that that when you're seeing this, the one with the least options or the least splits will be the one that you have to select first. So first, you're looking at familiarity, how easily you can visualize it. You're looking at how the questions are, and you're looking at how much data is given to you in the question. That is how you do DLR. I went back to all the questions that I used to solve, and I just put into my head that the first 5-6 minutes have to be spent only on understanding how to attempt questions better. If I'm able to attempt questions better, I will get marks. I'll get better marks. That's all I did for DLR. It requires practice of old sets again and again, but just make sure that you solve 100% of the questions that you know how to solve. Just remember that. If you're able to solve a question after the test, you should be able to solve it before the test, during the test as well. And yeah, I think that's what I've done for DLR. I don't have much more to add here. This should set you on the right track for the strategy. When it comes to quants, again, quants was not my strongest thing. I used to probably score lowest in quant. Even in CD, my quant score was probably the lowest amongst the other sections. When it comes to quant, again, go back to your old mocks. Make sure that you at least know how to solve each and every one of them. Know the formula to the sets. See, there are lots of formulas that repeat a lot. There are lots of questions also, question types that repeat a lot in CAT. And if you're able to solve them once in a mock, you know that you'll be getting a lot of them right ahead. So for example, the number of zeros at the end of a factorial. That is one question that keeps coming many times, or the remainder when something is divided by something, or find the maximum value of something, find the minimum value of something. These questions like this, there are straightforward methods of solving it. And if you want straightforward methods of solving, there's a website, cat100percentile.com. Go to the website, you will find each and every type of this listed in the links below. So please go there and just go through it. If you have any doubts about quants, if you want better methods to solve questions, go to that website and use it. If you're able to use it, there's nothing like it. It does take a lot of understanding to use it. I think it's only for the ones who are serious aspirants. So if you think you are a serious aspirant and you can do this, if you want to improve in quant, please go ahead and do that. That is what I had used. I used to spend most of my time practicing the questions that he has given and actually learning how to implement that in the mocks ahead. Again, go back to old mocks, solve it, implement these methods from Scrabbler's blog, Cat 100 Percentile, and then you can go ahead to the next mock and do that. So in quant, it was just this that helped me, and knowing what type of questions keep coming. There's a pattern. There is definitely a pattern that keeps coming. There'll be a repetitive pattern that is there, but just make sure that you know these obvious ones very well. And again, attempt only what you know. So when it comes to quant, to summarize, as I mentioned, old mocks, actually to summarize the entire thing, go through the old mocks, learn how to select better, and then go for the next mock. This is the best way to do it. Now for each and everything, learn how to select better is a different thing. For quants, it is visualizing the answer, seeing whether you can find the path to it. I've mentioned this in the CET videos a couple of months ago. Also, this is exactly how you solve CET questions as well. When it comes to DLR, it comes to your familiarity. It comes to what the questions are like. It is about how obvious the data is. When it comes to RCs, it is about, again, familiarity of the topic. It is about how easy the sentences are, and also about how easily you can read all the sentences and how the questions are. Again, that's also one thing that matters over here. This, if you're able to create a strategy for this, as I explained my strategy for it, I will also be putting a photo of my letter to myself before the exam, which I've written, about how I'll be solving it. So if you're able to inculcate all of this, I think even a week's time is enough to increase your score. So please implement this as soon as you can. It is going to make a difference. The mock video is also going to be up along with this video. So please, both the videos are live now. If you're seeing this, the other video is live as well. Go and watch both the videos. Drop in any comments that you have for any question that you have. I'll be recording that video a couple of days later. So towards the exam, I'll be recording that video. So any question that you have, drop it in the comments, drop it in the Google form that is there, drop your message on Telegram, anything is fine. Just let me know your questions so I know that people are watching this, people are using it and going ahead with things. But that's it for now. I think I have exhausted what I had to add in this video. I hope it's been useful to you. Thank you very much for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.